Okay, what I've got here is a Humalog KwikPen. This is their disposable insulin pen. Screw a needle on the end, and eventually this gets used up. I got a couple of these. I usually use the cartridges. Now the cartridges are things that go in these humour pens. So, oops, the other way around. This is a humour pen Savio, and it's designed so that you put the cartridge in there and then use it the same sort of way. Dial up the dose, inject the dose. On this one, yep, dial up the dose, and I can't actually inject because it's full of insulin right now. I had one of these, but it stopped working. So I needed to, the plunger wasn't moving, I needed to use the insulin in there, so I worked out how to transfer that to one of these. Now, I've shown a video before doing that with a pen, with a knife, where we unpeel this label and then work apart the glued joint in here. It's a little bit finicky. So I've got a new way. This is a pipe cutter, and as we screw this, things move closer and closer together. So there's some rollers here, and there's a blade, there's a sharp blade in there. So what we do, just imagine it's a pipe, is we put this in here and we cut. Now I could cut around this end, but once we get inside the plastic, there's a glass cartridge. We do not want to even scratch that glass cartridge, because as soon as that cracks, the whole thing's useless. There's a little bit more room between the plastic and the glass down here, so I cut it down this end. Now, I can't cut too far down here because this eventually becomes square and changes shape, but just down here a little bit. On this particular one, there's some textured stuff in here, but I'll end up working my way past that. So I'll just go through the process and hopefully we'll see how fast or slow it is. So I'll position it around there and I'll start tightening this up. There we go, it's starting to grip. Yeah. Just doing it so that little sharp bit isn't going to get stuck. So I've done this not too tight. So this is being held between those rollers and that blade. And as I rotate this around, no, I've gone too tight, so let's loosen this off a little bit. As I work around, no, loosen off a little bit more. As I work around here, that clicking is me accidentally moving this, doesn't really matter. You'll probably see there's starting to become a little line where the blade is clicking in. So I keep rotating this around until it becomes smooth, and then I tighten this just a little bit, and then I go around again. And then I tighten up a little bit more, and I go around again. And I keep repeating this. Now, this plastic actually has some reinforcing thick bits, 4 of them down the sides. So when I end up getting to the end, it won't all break at once, but we'll see what happens. Yep, that's smooth. A little bit more. You see, I'm not turning that screw much. There is the sound of some breaking plastic coming in here. Some little cricks. A little bit more. A little bit more. And that has suddenly broken. I'm going to loosen this off. This plastic here comes off. This glass, you can see there's no cut marks there. So this is the cartridge. So I can throw away those bits. Now this is unlabeled. So I actually don't want to throw away this just yet, because I don't want to have one of these sitting around and get confused with something else and not know how old it is. So on this, there is a label. I'm just going to find the edges of the label. See, I didn't cut my nails for this for a reason. There we go. If I start to come in here and unpeel this. Now I can throw that out. Now if I try and stick something to the glass, it'll just fall off. But if I start sticking this to the glass, try and get it straight, so that when it comes around, it's sticking to itself, it will then stay in place. And I can see, well, mostly, except for that little end bit, I can see what the expiry date is, I can see what it is, and this cartridge, I can then unlock this, I can then place in there, and we're good to go. The plunger in here needs to advance a bit, so I'm first going to dial up a bit until it stops moving. There we go. So now when I put a needle on the end, it'll be ready to inject. So I've done that at the start of the cartridge. I could do it just as easily if the cartridge was halfway through, because there's no bending involved. This little pipe cutter here, in Australian dollars, costs, depending on how cheap you get, but for this sort of design, anywhere from $8 to $40. Designed for cutting copper and other metal pipes. So I just got it from the hardware store. Nice and convenient. So I don't have to store that in the pen. I actually prefer to have my insulin in cartridges because it takes up much less room in the fridge. But if I get hold of one of these KwikPens, I can easily break it apart and convert it to normal use. Okay, so just a little addendum. As I mentioned before, I like to apply the original label to this, but sometimes the label gets torn up or is otherwise not usable. So I use the combination of this tape, which is it's a 3M transparent tape. I wrap that around and write on it with this fine permanent marker. Now, even when you write on the tape, that can rub off. So I'll show you what I do. It's fairly simple. Start attaching this tape, you can see it's not actually sticking to the glass very well. It will stick to itself when it goes all the way around, but before I wrap it around, I'm going to write onto this, and this is it's meant to be an H, Humalog 100. Whatever little shorthand tells me what's in this cartridge. I mean, I should be able to tell from the colour on the end what it is, etc., but just in case, when this wraps around, it will cover the writing, and then that way the writing's not going to smudge off. I can break that tape, and now I have a labelled cartridge. It doesn't rub off. And again, I can put that in my pen and proceed. If I put it in the right position, I can actually rotate around so it's visible through the gap, but that's just a nicety. There you go.